Hello, my name is Victoria Fascia, and welcome to my Typeface specimen. So I'll start with my design inspiration. For my font, I wanted to create something maybe that would be a little wild or edgy, something that evokes maybe a little bit of a rough and spooky feeling to it. I wanted to create something that would personally excite me in creating it, something that can reflect me in it as well. So on the left there, as you can see, I picked a couple of typefaces online that I thought were pretty cool. A lot of them are pretty sharp and edgy, and maybe they can't be used for everything, but they look pretty effective when they are used correctly. And I like just how they can tell a story. For the direction of my font, I wanted it to be edgy, tough, cutting edge, thrilling, and loud, but I did not want my font to be calm, romantic, soft, humorous, or elegant. So now we'll move on to my sketches. Okay, so on the left there we have, when I was just testing out a couple different font ideas, I first started out with a sort of rough, sketchy, prehistoric almost look. There's no rounded edges on any of the bowls or counters. And then after that I was looking for maybe a triangle serif sort of font. I thought that could be interesting, kind of looks like vampires. And then I was trying out a thicker font with maybe trapezoid inner counters, but that could prove to be a little difficult moving forward. So we went with the first one. And then I kind of went to finding a clear direction of that font that I wanted to create. I was inspired kind of by that hanging tilted crossbar of the A that I made on that the first set. So I kind of went along with that edgy type. I didn't particularly want to have any rounded corners in this typeface. So as you can see with my first couple sketches, the E and the O, they both have sort of that angular sort of look to them instead of having a nice rounded look. I thought that would just make it a little more fun and challenging for me to try. And then we have the stroke library as just me testing out, making sure that everything would be cohesive within the typeface and all my angular strokes and how they would look. Okay, and then we have my final sketches. So for my uppercase alphabet, I wanted to just kind of try out the different angles that I can use, what strokes I could cross over. And I wanted my crossbars to be more diagonal. I didn't really want to have any horizontal crossbars, just to give it a more of a jagged sort of look. And for my lowercase alphabet, I didn't exactly want it to be the same as the uppercase alphabet, especially because it'll be seen in smaller sizes, so having things cross over with the strokes just wouldn't look that nice. But I still wanted to keep that angular look to them as well, so I went with that. And for my numbers and glyphs, I tried to keep the same sort of angular look with those as well. And now we'll go into the creation of my digital letter forms. So for the first part of the assignment, we were creating horizontal and vertical letters. So this is probably the hardest part of the assignment, just because moving it from paper to digital, it's a little bit different actually now working with the thickness and the different diagonal strokes that I wanted to use, and making everything look cohesive. I just had a lot of ideas that I wanted to use, and had a little bit of a hard time narrowing that down. But then for the part 2 of the assignment, we were working with diagonals, and I got to get sort of a better idea of how I wanted my strokes to interact with each other and cross over. And then for part 3, I was working with the rounds. This one was a little bit trickier because I didn't exactly want any rounds for this font, so I kind of looked more into creating diagonal or sort of more triangle shapes for those counter spaces, and just went forward from there. Okay, and then we have my finished digital type here. I was pretty happy how with everything came out. One thing I started touching up near the end is that I wanted all of my crossbars to be in the same direction. So there's pointing down on the left and then rising up on the right side. And I thought that helped make my type look a lot more cohesive. And I was pretty happy overall with this and looking forward to creating a design with it. And then I gave a couple sentence examples just because I wasn't able to fully use up all the type in my font. So of course I used the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, and I did that with all caps and then also all the lowercase as well. And of course, the name for my type is called Slasher. So I wanted to name it this because in the type, there's no really horizontal pieces. They're all angular, so they look as if almost like a slash on the keyboard, but kind of flipped to the side. Also that there's no rounded corners, and it has a sharp and cutting edge look. So if you were if you were to like cut into a piece of wood and how everything would be sort of straight slashing lines, I thought that kind of fit my typeface, so I wanted to go with that as well. And we have my final display piece, which are tarot cards. So I created 10 tarot cards in total, and then I created what the back of them would look like. So they would all be the same on the back, and that's the one on the far right there. I wanted to keep a white, gold, and a dark blue color palette. The dark blue mostly for the background of the cards, and then the white and the gold would be for the accent colors. I illustrated all of the graphics. Had to look online for a couple examples to see what other sort of ideas there were and what I could sort of branch off to and try my own things with. And I just wanted to keep overall the design to be minimalistic but cohesive throughout. I wanted to sort of play with the line length. I forgot my drawing pad, so I didn't have my drawing pad, but I did use the pen tool and the width tool to create all of these illustrations. And here's how the final design would look as a mock-up. So this is just an example of the back of the card and then the front of the card. And here are all the cards laid out. I even created a little deck with the back of the card of how they would look like if they were all stacked up. But overall, I wanted to use my type that I created for tarot cards because I think that since tarot cards already have a really sort of whimsical, otherworldly sort of look to them, that my type would really work with that, and I'd be able to sort of play with the illustrations as well to work with the type. So I had a nice time doing that, and I think my type definitely brings another level to these cards and makes them something really pretty cool to look at, and I'm pretty happy with them. And that is everything that I have created for my digital type specimen. Thank you for listening.